Greetings, my name is Monty Martin.
And I'm Kelly McLaughlin.
And we are the Dungeon Dudes. And welcome to our subclass tier ranking for the Barbarian in the Player's Handbook 2024.
We're going to be taking a look at the 4 Barbarian subclasses available in the 2024 Player's Handbook, and we're going to be ranking them based on how well they perform in multiple pillars of play. There's a lot to discuss today, so let's get rolling.
Our Barbarian subclass tier ranking is sponsored by World Anvil. This is the ultimate world-building, writing, and game mastering desktop software. I'm a really big proponent of having a virtual DM binder, and if you've been looking to build a really organized one for yourself, World Anvil is the perfect platform to build it with.
They have over 25 world-building article templates, which is amazing for creating wiki-style presentations of your world and your writing. You can categorize things, you can sort them out the way that you want to, you can present maps and player information, you can choose what your players get to access and what is just for you. And their best features are their interactive maps and chronicles, which combine the capabilities of custom timelines and maps, so you can plot events across time and space.
Yeah, I find that when you are world building, putting everything on the map and everything out in the timeline really helps you make sure that you aren't creating plot holes or overlapping events that are happening at the same time or putting too many things in all the same place. So it's really handy to be able to use these templates, and it works with over 45 systems, including D&D 5e and much, much more. So regardless of your system or that you're playing, World Anvil is a great platform for you, because it's going to let you manage your character sheets, journals, inventory, and management, and everything that a player could need as well. So you get both this ability to build all your campaign stuff in World Anvil and then share that with your players and integrate their characters into it too.
So if you head over to worldanvil.com, you can check all of this out, or you can easily follow the links in the description below. We've been longtime fans of World Anvil, and we think that it's a great system for just organizing all of a DM's thoughts and helping your players get something out of it too. There's something for everybody with World Anvil.
Make sure that you use the custom link in the description below and the discount code Dungeon Dudes for 51% off your subscription when you sign up.
And now, on to this week's episode.
So as we kick off our tier ranking, let's just do a brief review at how we rank our subclasses. First of all, Kelly and I consider all pillars of play when we rank subclasses: combat, exploration, and social interaction, and look at how the subclass boosts the features of the base class in those pillars of play. Of course, Barbarians are a very combat-focused class, so that's going to be our primary consideration here.
When we rank them, we pit them against each other, so that means that the Barbarian subclasses are going up against each other, not subclasses from other classes. We're also not going to be talking much about multiclassing. If we mention it, that's just something that we wanted to talk about, but it's not a main part of our rankings. As we look at the tier rankings, S tier is for extraordinarily powerful options. This is a subclass whose features enhance the base class in game-changing ways. Sometimes these features might come off overpowered, or they might dominate common adventuring scenarios, especially combat.
Now, A tier is where we like to see most subclasses land. This is a really strong subclass that has broad benefits that work in multiple tiers of play. It has great synergy with the base class features and lots of great build options that you can do with it, such as combining it with skills, feats, and spells. A-tier subclasses are very, very strong, but most dungeon masters wouldn't consider them game-breaking.
Now, when we look at B tier, this is actually also an excellent place for a subclass to land. It's going to have really good features that excel with the right build. It's going to offer viable options which contribute to most pillars of play. And if you build them properly, or if you're in the right party dynamic or have the right DM or in the right campaign, they could actually be A or S tier.
Now, C tier is where things start to get niche. This is where you get subclass features that only work with specific combinations, or they don't come up regularly. We start seeing features that aren't going to be happening every game session. They're not going to be used very often, or there might be an opportunity cost in that there's a trade-off in some way that you have to make to use the features.
D tier, these features are seldom useful. You should not use a subclass that is D tier. It means that choosing it will actually take away from the base class or does not combine with it at all, and that trying to use this subclass could actually limit your playstyle or cause you to not feel like you're doing much of anything at the table compared to the other players.
So let's dive into it. First of all, with the Berserker, at level 3, we get Frenzy. This is awesome. We're just going to get straight up extra damage when we use Reckless Attack and Rage, which we want to use all the time. We pick up on the first attack that we make that hits, we get to pick up a number of d6s equal to our Rage damage bonus. Starts at 2d6, goes up to 3d6, then 4d6. Just add that to our damage.
At level 6, you're going to gain Mindless Rage. Now, while you're raging, you cannot be charmed or frightened. These are two really debilitating effects that can happen to you, and just being able to never be affected by them is pretty awesome. And then also at 10th level, we're going to gain Retaliation, meaning that our Berserker, when they are hit in combat, can use their reaction to take a swing back. This is just going to be extra attacks and extra damage output. So it's awesome.
So then at level 14, we get this big power called Intimidating Presence. We spend a bonus action once per day, and we can do a 30-foot emanation where all of our enemies have to make a wisdom saving throw, or they're frightened of us. They get to repeat the save every minute, lasts a minute. And then you can get another use of this ability by expending a use of your rage.
I think that the frightened condition is actually an excellent thing to slap onto enemies. It's pretty debilitating for them, and so don't laugh at the frightened condition. It's great, and
it's a bonus action.
Yeah.
The
fact that you get to dish out frightened, but you cannot receive frightened. The Berserker is a force on the battlefield.
It absolutely is. I think that the Berserker is the gold standard for damage dealing for barbarians. Frenzy is a huge upgrade. It's a real glow up in the 2024 rules. It's easy to use. The subclass is no longer a noob trap. And I honestly think that it's one of the best damage dealers in the game right now. If we're looking at it as a baseline, if you grab Great Weapon Master, Polearm Master with this build, which you don't really need to go the Polearm Master route, but you can, and you just hammer away at your foes for whatever damage you're going to get. Super accurate attacks because of Reckless Attack. Lots of damage. It's great.
I personally love the idea of the dual wielder because we're getting the bonus rage damage
on each attack, but you only get that's the base rage damage. Yeah. You only get the frenzy damage on one attack.
And that's fine. I still like the vision. Like when I think of the Berserker, I love the idea of the Berserker having like an axe and a hammer and running in and just like killing everything. I think very Viking here. I played a lot of Assassin's Creed Valhalla, and this feels like the Valhalla build. I actually think the Berserker now is it really is the Barbarian's Barbarian. It really says, hey, picture the Barbarian, the base class. What do you picture? A dude running into combat, big muscles, smacking things with weapons and doing a lot of damage and killing things and not falling down themselves. The Berserker just gives us more of that.
Yeah, and it doesn't really ask anything of you for this. Like, you just get a really effective reaction attack. You get immunity to the worst conditions that could happen to your barbarian, because generally being charmed and fear with barbarians' mental ability scores, these are not the things that you want to happen to your barbarian. You don't want your barbarian mind controlled.
Yeah.
And you won't be. And Intimidating Presence is worth using. I don't know if it's also cool that you can expend rages to do it more. Because barbarians don't necessarily have a way to burn through rages if they're like when you know this is the last combat of the day.
Yeah, if you're like after this we rest and you have 2 rages left, then maybe. Yeah. But I think that this is an A tier.
I agree.
There's 0 issues here, and honestly, it takes everything you want the barbarian to do and lifts it a little.
Yeah, I think that when you put the numbers down, I think you've got one of the best damage dealers in the game here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Moving on to the Wild Heart. This is the barbarian that taps into the primal energies and uses the spirits of animals to fuel their abilities. First, right away at 3rd level, when you pick this, you get Animal Speaker, which actually gives you the ability to cast Be Sense and Speak with Animals, both as a ritual. So you can't cast them as like a normal spell, but you spend 10 minutes and you can do this. Having played with characters who use Speak with Animals to create scouts and to find out information, and if you've played Baldur's Gate 3 and you have had access to Speak with Animals and you've talked to the cows, you know how fun this can be. Or if you've talked to all the cats in the game. Anyway, this isn't a Baldur's Gate 3, but being able to talk to animals actually has major implications for the sort of information and scouting that you can do, which means that right away at 3rd level, this barbarian is getting some utility outside of combat that is beautiful to have.
Now, also at level 3, you get Rage of the Wilds. This lets you adopt kind of an animal spirit when you enter your rage, which at level 3, you've got 3 different options. The first is the bear, which increases your resistance. You get resistance to almost all damage types in the game, except for force, radiant, psychic, and necrotic. So it's going to protect you against most elemental types like fire, thunder, poison, lightning, acid, cold, but not kind of the more psychic and otherworldly type.
This makes sense for me for a barbarian. It's like you can shrug off the elemental, the elements.
Yes, that's pretty much what you're getting out of the bear. You're shrugging off the elements too. The next one is the eagle. The eagle increases your mobility because it lets you dash and disengage when you enter the rage, and then during the rest of your rage, you can dash and disengage as a bonus action. And the final one is the wolf. And this one simply, you grant pack tactics to your allies. They have advantage on attack rolls against any enemy that's within 5 feet of you.
Now, you get to choose which of these you manifest when you rage, which means that every combat encounter could be different. And really, depending on the type of enemies you're facing, there's a great argument for any of these 3 options. If you are in a combat encounter where maneuverability, I'm thinking like we've seen so many cool chase scenes or scenes where you have to get the MacGuffin and keep it away from the enemy, then the eagle might be the way to go. The bear is going to be great if you're fighting a dragon or a frost giant or something that is going to have a lot of elemental damage. And the wolf is great when there's just maybe a few big meaty enemies that you want everybody to pile onto. So they're all useful.
Oh yeah. Now at level 6, you get Aspect of the Wilds, and this basically gives you your choice of dark vision, a swim speed, or a climb speed at the start of each day. So again, whatever environment you're going into, you get a movement speed or a way of navigating through that environment that you might want.
I think that's just so useful. Again, the utility here is incredible. At level 10, you're going to get Nature Speaker. You're going to be able to cast Commune with Nature as a ritual as well. This is just another way to gather intel and information from nature itself. I think that between the Animal Speaker and the Nature Speaker, actually, this whole subclass so far is probably the best utility subclass for the Barbarian.
Yeah. And at level 14, you gain the Falcon, Lion, and Ram options when you enter your rage. The Falcon has a bit of a trade-off, but you get to fly as long as you're not wearing any armor.
Shut it off.
The Lion, attacks against your allies have disadvantage while you're within 5 feet of them. And the Ram, you get to knock people prone.
Again, all 3 of these are great. And this is the same. You get to choose it when you go into a rage. So you get to choose one from each category?
Yes. My reading of this is that you get to choose one of the level 3 options and one of the level 14 options. So
what I love about that is the ability to combine the pack tactics, so all of your allies have advantage, with the lion, I think it is.
The lion and the wolf.
The lion and the wolf.
Yes, the lion and the wolf.
So all of your allies have advantage on the enemy, and your enemy has disadvantage on all of your allies.
Yes.
So that's like the come on party, like bringing your pride and your wolf pack.
Yeah, or imagine the mobility of the falcon and the eagle.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because yeah, you're flying, dashing, disengaging. That's really good.
There's a lot of cool combinations that can happen here, and I think that the versatility, the fact that you get to choose whenever you rage, means that every combat encounter you get to kind of analyze and think what's going to be the most helpful for us this time around. And just based on the fact that like all of these are at your disposal at all times. You aren't making a choice and then stuck with it. You get to choose whenever the day starts or whenever the combat starts. When you rage. And I think that that makes this an A tier subclass. I think that this is one of the rare times, especially for a barbarian, where I'm going to say it's A tier because of, first of all, the versatility, and second of all, the utility in and out of combat. They are useful in many, many ways outside of combat, including things like getting a climbing speed and swimming speed can really benefit maneuverability just in any sort of terrain. Dark vision, even if you're going into the depths and it's like, oh no, I'm a human, I don't have dark vision. Yeah, you do, because you can just turn it on. Just take a nap and now you wake up with dark vision. I love the versatility and utility of this subclass. I think that it's something that barbarians needed, and I love seeing it here.
I do too. It's really tempting to give this one an S tier because it feels like you get it all. What you don't get out of the subclass that the other subclasses offer you is a really big damage increase. And I think that for me, that damage increase for yourself is one of the things that keeps it out of the S tier as well. The forms like the lion and the wolf forms are going to be dependent on you having party members that also want to be up close and personal right beside you.
Your wizard doesn't care.
Your wizard doesn't want to be there anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, they don't want to be there at all.
So if you're the only melee person in your party, those two are not going to be helpful. But if you're in a party with like a paladin, a rogue, and a monk,
they really get a lot more mileage out of those. The bear, I really like that you can or cannot decide to be in the bear form, and decide, okay, there's elemental damage, the bear's going to be worthwhile or not. That choice is great because if you don't need a resistance, you don't need a resistance, right? Although at higher levels, those things become more and more common, but as do force, necrotic, and radiant damage. And I will say that like poison and fire are really common damage types that player characters face, but after that, necrotic is really common, and we're seeing a lot more monsters doing force damage in the 2024 rules as a stand-in for magic damage. So the meta around the bear is shifted.
It still is a really good choice, and honestly, it makes more thematic sense that you cannot stand up to like the powers of magic and psychic energy, but you can definitely stand up to fire and cold.
Yeah. I think ultimately, like, I think that this is an absolutely in the A tier. And I think, and not in a way that I feel like is oppressive. Like, again, this is one of our new metrics that we consider with this round of tier ranking is it overpowered? Are dungeon masters going to find this difficult to cope with in some way?
We had some subclasses in the past that pushed that limit, which is why we want to make sure that we're talking about that. But no, I think this is safely in the A tier, and it's a perfectly excellent choice for anybody playing a barbarian who wants that like utility.
Yeah, I agree. So let's look at the world tree. This is one of the newcomers, one of the brand new spanking new subclasses in the 2024 rules, and it delivers. So first off, at level 3, we get Vitality of the Tree. Oh, that rhymed. When you enter your rage, you get temporary hit points equal to your level.
Great.
And then at the start of each of your turns while you're raging, you roll those rage dice. Basically, a number of dice equal to your rage damage bonus. They're D6s. And you give an ally, not you, has to be an ally, temporary hit points. That ally needs to be within 10 feet of you.
Okay, so again, you're probably up close and personal along with your fighter, your paladin, your monk, your brothers in arms. But being able to every turn top up the other melee focused characters who are taking the brunt of the damage along with you is great. It's eating attacks at that point. So you start with 2d6. It's going to go up to 4d6 as you level up. Temporary hit points, this isn't a ton of temporary hit points, but it's essentially giving the fighter next to you resistance on the next attack that hits them.
It's like having Aura of Vitality.
Yeah.
Almost. It's not the healing that Aura of Vitality is, but it is like you are having this nice little aura around you all the time, which is...
As a level 3 feature, this is just... It makes your entire party more robust.
Yeah. It's not the most exciting feature. This is the least exciting feature of the subclass. Next up, we have Branches of the Tree. Level 6. Oh boy. What does this do?
You spend your reaction at the start of a creature's turn if they are within 30 feet of you. And you can... I'm going to use the word teleport, but essentially branches yoink them up to 5 feet from you. So you yoink them next to you. They get to make a strength saving throw to resist. If they're your ally, you don't need to resist, and you can just choose to fail and get yoinked. And after the teleport, you can choose to reduce their speed to 0. So again, the hidden key here is your allies can choose to fail, and you can choose to give 0 on their speed, meaning that if an ally, your wizard gets surrounded, you can just yoink your wizard out of there, put them behind you, and be like...
you can just run away.
And they can run away.
Yeah.
Or you can grab an enemy away from the wizard and yoink them up to you and be like, you're mine, buddy. The most important thing, there are so many teleport spells that specify when you use them that you are yoinking an enemy to a flat surface that isn't going to damage them. The Branches of the Tree does not specify that. Nope. So I want to talk about a few things about this. Okay, this is a huge ability for me. If I decide that I want to play an Aarakocra, an Owlin, I don't know, any flying...
Or just a Dragonborn with the flying ability, or the Azamar with the flying ability. Yeah.
So there are a lot of options out there that can fly. There's nothing saying that I can't yoink them 30 feet in the air and then immediately drop them and reduce their speed to 0. Now they are taking dropping damage.
And they're prone.
And they can't move.
Yeah.
They can't get up.
They can't get up.
Meaning that now your fighter can run up to them and get advantage. Not only that, but the amount of times as a barbarian that you might be in a party with a spellcaster who drops an area of effect, a damaging area of effect, you just get to stand on the outside of it and yoink your enemies into it.
You can ruin somebody's turn in so many ways with this ability. Yes, it is a saving throw. And that's the interesting tactical decision that is offered to you, because it's not a saving throw. It always works on your allies. And so I find that this is the very interesting choice that you can always do, is that you can move an ally out of danger, or you can move them into an advantageous position next to you, or you can be using this to affect your enemies. So even when you're up against enemies that have the crazy strength saves, because let's face it, in D&D, a lot of monsters have a high strength score, so making a strength saving throw is not necessarily hard for them. Like, the Tarrasque or a Kraken or many dragons. And this is where booping your allies around becomes the really cool choice. You can use this outside of combat, and that means that if you can get somewhere, you can bring your allies with you. So if you have a climb speed or just your natural athletics, you can climb the wall and zoop everybody up with you. There's all sorts of interesting utility that can happen because of this short range reaction speed teleport.
I also like how many words we have for grabbing people. We have yoink, boop, and zoop. How many more are there? There's probably a lot more.
Pop.
You can pop your enemies into a lava pit. I don't know if there's more.
Nightcrawler. Bamf. Bamfing. Yes.
Although again, this is like technically it doesn't say that they are dragged along the ground or anything.
No, this is like a scorpion get over.
It is a teleport, but at the same time you are grabbing them and get over hearing them.
Yeah.
Get over here. Oh man.
If you ever played a Death Knight in World of Warcraft with Death, oh man.
I mean, I even think of like Legend of Zelda with his hook shot, and you use that on an enemy to pull them up to you. Like, it's great.
Yeah.
We love doing this. So this feature, shenanigans.
Adding to the shenanigans, level 10, we get battering roots. So this is super cool. If you're using a heavier versatile weapon, which you probably are because you're a barbarian, your reach with that weapon increases by 10 feet. Note the wording increases by 10 feet. So you now have a 15-foot reach with just any basic weapon. Second, when you attack with that weapon, you get to apply topple or push to that weapon's mastery in addition to whatever mastery property it already has. So for example, if you are using a maul, which already has topple, or a warhammer, which has push, you have now a 15-foot reach with that weapon, and you can push the target and knock them prone.
So you can grab somebody, yoink them in front of you, smack them away, and knock them prone in the damaging effect of your
and if you knock
spell.
them prone, they're going to start their turn prone, which means that you can boop them up to you, and now their speed is 0, so they can't stand up from you.
So when you knock them, when you knock them away and knock them prone, they now can't get up to attack.
Do you know like that paddle game with the? I imagine that.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're just.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah. Right. Now, of course, they're still going to be able to get up to you because you're teleporting them up to you, so they can still attack you.
Unless you're knocking them away from you.
No, because when you teleport them back to you, it happens at the start of their turn.
Right.
Yeah. But it's still great. Like I love this, and just the fact that you're applying like what you're seeing here is this is battlefield control.
Yeah, battlefield control on a natural damage dealer and tank
on a barbarian.
Yeah,
we are moving our allies and our enemies around in profound ways. This is good. This is good.
And at level 14. You actually get more maneuverability and being able to move you and your allies. You can now travel along the tree, which allows you to teleport when you are raging.
As a bonus action. 60 feet.
60 feet. And once per rage, you can up that to 150 feet and bring up to 6 allies. So you can get wherever you need to be. Wherever you and your allies need to go, you're there. And wherever you need to be on the battlefield, you're there.
Also note that barbarians have a brutal strike that also pushes people 15 feet.
Yeah.
And you can get feats like Crusher.
Yeah. I
love the subclass.
This is my favorite barbarian subclass, like easily, hands down. I love battlefield control. People often don't give battlefield control enough credit. Those who do are the people who know how powerful it is. Battlefield control changes the entire game. And usually the battlefield control is left up to the squishy mages. But we just tapped battlefield control onto the person who already wants to be at the front lines of combat, dishing out damage, and the fact that they're just pulling people towards them. You can keep the battle focused on you. You can be yoinking them to dangerous places.
Welcome to the danger zone.
I mean, stand next to a cliff and just yoink them off one at a time.
Yeah. Or and even if your DM comes down on you for that and says you can't teleport them off the cliff immediately, the subclass has enough features to tee people, like to yeet them out anyways, right? So even if your DM rules, and I can see many DMs ruling that you do have to put them onto a solid surface.
Okay, then I smack them with my weapon and knock them off the edge.
Exactly.
There's still ways. I'm putting them on the tee, and that's not how I do a golf swing, but you know.
You're teeing them up for yourself and just popping them out. Yes, yeeting. Yes. Bamf them up to you and then yeet them into the stratosphere. I'm cool. I speak the kid lingo.
I don't think any of those are kid lingo. We're trying.
We're trying.
But I'm willing to give this an S tier because I think not only the Barbarian is already incredible at damage dealing, at standing up to combat. When you add the amount of battlefield control, protecting your allies, dishing out temporary hit points, giving yourself temporary hit points, teleporting, yeeting, yoinking, bamfing, zooping and bopping.
Yeah.
You end up with, I think, one of the coolest Barbarian.
I agree. So, like, we didn't get a damage boost, but so what?
We do as an inherent Barbarian.
Yeah,
and I know
we got
the same argument could be made for any of these, but
like, this is a ridiculous amount of battlefield control.
Yeah.
And a way of affecting combat that has interesting applications out of combat. That just, you just don't see a Barbarian able to affect the battlefield in this way. Like, if you look at if you look at the Berserker, if you look at the other subclasses in comparison, you will feel the presence of the World Tree Barbarian in every single combat encounter. A dungeon master that is planning encounters with the World Tree Barbarian is going to have to consider what they do in a way that, like, a wizard, like, you have to consider what a wizard can do.
You know what else the World Tree Barbarian can do? Okay, number one bane of Barbarian players at my table in the past has been dealing with a flying enemy.
Yep.
And if the flying enemy gets within 30 feet of you,
just get down.
Get down here, and now you can,
Yeah.
So that's helpful. I know we have another subclass to get to, but I just want to say that the three archetypes that we've defined and that are very now well defined, you have the damage dealing barbarian, the utility barbarian, and the battlefield control barbarian. And that feels good.
And I'm biased towards battlefield control.
Me too.
And I like utility too. But I honestly think that the World Tree Barbarian's battlefield control is S tier. And I just think that the subclass just, like, I also think that, like, the tools that it has in combining with other weapon masteries and other build options just bring it to the next level.
I also, so again, a lot of people love doing damage because damage is damage. But battlefield control shuts down enemies and sets up more damage. Yeah. So I really think that battlefield control is one of the most important aspects of the game. The more control you have over the battlefield, the less your enemies do, and the more likely you are to sweep the battles. So the World Tree Barbarian is going to be sweeping everybody with their scary roots.
Bamfing their way to S tier and yeeting out the competition.
Well, booping, zorping, and yoinking their enemies. I don't know. I just like these words.
All right. So finally we got the Zealot. Empowered by the gods, they have a divine fury that just deals 1d6 plus half their level necrotic or radiant damage on a hit once per turn while raging.
So extra bonus damage.
Yeah. So compare this to the Berserker.
Mm-hmm.
This is actually very close because 2d6 on average is 7. When you first get this feature, d6 is plus 3. So it's very, it's very close, almost identical to the Berserker damage.
Which is nice.
Yeah.
We get bonus damage. We love bonus damage on a Barbarian.
Yeah. It just happens, you just don't get to roll it. Like, you only roll 1d6 of it. It's fine.
Which is kind of nice because one of the numbers is set.
Yeah.
So we like that. Also at 3rd level, you get Warrior of the Gods. You now have a pool starting at 4d12. It increases a few times as you level up. And you can use these dice as a bonus action to heal yourself. No. Really, this is kind of just telling me that I have 4d12 more hit points.
Yep, pretty much.
And I can just use those to heal up.
So compare this to the temporary hit points of the World Tree Barbarian. The World Tree Barbarian's temporary hit points start to pull ahead as they gain levels, and the more often they get to rage. But this is pretty decent. Level 6, Fanatical Focus. Reroll 1 failed save per rage. A little disappointed by this one. 1 failed save is not a lot.
This is also, you get to add
your rage damage.
Your rage damage bonus to the roll.
Yeah.
But I want to talk about this. Okay, this is one of those abilities that looks good on paper. You go, oh, nice, rerolling a failed death or a failed saving throw. That's very handy. And I get to add a bonus. Compare this to, and I know we're not comparing this to other classes, but there are so many classes in the game that actually add or increase or allow you to reroll a saving throw and do it better. +2 is not a lot.
So fighter, this feels overshadowed when I know we're looking across classes, but this is basically Indomitable. The fighter's Indomitable feat, except the fighter is adding their fighter level to the bonus. You're just adding like +2.
And think of a paladin who just gets to add their charisma bonus to everybody around them for all saving throws.
So it's not that it's not an impact, and it is once per rage, which means that you might get to use this more often than a fighter gets to use Indomitable.
Yeah.
But it's still only once per combat, and I do know that sometimes you really wish you could use it a second time, right? It would be kind of cool if you could expend a use of rage to get another reroll, or if you just got more rerolls than this.
Yeah.
It's not bad.
No.
It's not bad. It's just when you only get one reroll, you're only getting one reroll per combat.
And the one thing that I want to point out again with that +2 is not nothing. It is a +2. That literally.
Yeah.
But usually I'm going to be using this on those tough saving throws. My Barbarian has bad intelligence.
Yeah.
I have to make an intelligence saving throw. The DC is 18. I have to roll a 19 because I have a -1 on intelligence. Is the +2 really going to help change the 3 that I rolled on the die into a 19 or 20? Maybe? Now my 19 that I need is actually a 17, but that's still a tough roll.
Yeah.
So I can see a lot of times where this is just not going to be as helpful as I want it to. Again, there are times that it will be helpful.
Yeah. I'll take it.
I'm putting this ability lands kind of mid for me. It's right in the middle. It's not useful, but it's not always useful.
Level 10 Zealot's Presence, bonus action battle cry, that gives advantage on attack rolls and saving throws to all your allies for 1 round. You can use this once per long rest, or you can use it more times by expending rages. I like this.
Yeah, this is great.
This is a very nice buff for your party, and because it buffs their saving throws, it's freaking sweet. Right? Like that. This is like a little bit mini paladin. This is like Bless and Aura of Protection for 1 round on your whole party for the cost of a rage. And we talked about as well the rages, like not having things to do with your rages when like this lets you like pour more rage into a fight.
Yeah.
In a way that buffs your party.
Holy rage.
Yep.
This is a very useful ability, especially when you're in that one combat encounter that it's like it's getting down to the wire and you just need to push to like defeat the boss. Use this. Make that push. Yeah. Finally, at level 14, you get Rage of the Gods. Once per long rest, you get an enhanced rage, which grants flight, resistance to necrotic, psychic, and radiant damage, and the ability to spend a reaction to heal any ally when they drop to 0 hit points. So at 14th level, people ain't dying around you. And you actually get those resistances that the bear totem or the bear spirit misses out of.
Yes. Yeah.
If only you could take both subclasses. But
and you get the flight too.
And you get flight, which is so okay. The Zealot does a lot of things right.
It does.
The hard part that I have with it is for some reason that I'm actually having a hard time putting my finger on.
I don't like it as much as the other stuff.
The Berserker feels better at damage dealing.
Yeah.
The Wild Heart feels better at utility. The World Tree feels better at battlefield control. The Zealot, I'm not sure what it's the best at.
It isn't the best at anything. It's tough. It gives you a little bit of everything that the other subclasses are offering. You're getting the damage
the middle
boost.
Ground.
You're getting the damage boost. You're getting a buff for your allies. You're getting a little bit more resilience for yourself in the form of the healing and the extra saving throw, and you're getting flight. So
It's kind of like the jack of all trades barbarian choice, where
it
like if you
is.
don't want to go any of those three pillars, you pick the one that's like not as good as any of those three at what they do, but it's okay at all of those categories.
Yep.
So it's tough because like there's part of me that says that this is an A, but a lower A than the other A's that I gave. There's also part of me that says it's like a B plus,
Mm.
but I don't know. It's, I'm actually like,
Yeah. You're never going to not use all of the features here. Like, the features apply in every combat. The damage boost, you're going to feel every round. This self-healing, you're absolutely going to use your barbarian. The rerolled save, you're absolutely going to use. It's going to come up somewhere. It's probably going to come up every combat. The Zealous Presence is a great buff to throw out to your whole party. And the Rage of the Gods, at the end of the day, it's a once per day, you get to fly.
and
So,
so is this an A then?
well, it's
By our definition, all of its abilities are useful. They add to the barbarian. Is it just the least exciting A that we're giving for a barbarian?
it is the least exciting A, so I'm giving it a B. Call me vindictive, but I've never been a fan of Zealots.
Okay.
Actually, I actually have loved the subclass, but in any case, no.
You're giving
Yeah.
it a B.
I do. I'm actually having the same struggle as you because I don't like, because in the B question is, what is the build? Like, is there a build that propels it to the S tier? And no, I don't really think that there is like a build that like makes this thing
But
crazy good in the way the world treated.
But also B implies that there are times that maybe it's not the most useful, but there's not an ability on here that isn't useful.
No, there's nothing niche about this
Yeah.
subclass. So it's definitely not falling into the C tier.
No, you're right.
Right. And the damage is on par with the Berserker, right? The toughness that you're getting from it is good. It's just an interesting mix. And so I'm not gonna argue like if you feel it's an A tier, I think it's a really strong choice. Like, I don't think it's bad.
For the sake of making our chart look nice, let's give it a B.
I just don't think I would pick the Zealot over the other three.
I think I'm giving it an A just for myself.
Okay.
I don't, but here's the thing. I would play my ranking. World Tree at the top,
Yeah.
probably Wild Heart next.
For me, it's World Tree, Wildheart, Berserker, Zealot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the order of excited I am to play each of these barbarian subclasses.
Yeah.
Um,
For me, that's also just, I think if you're ranking them by pure, like, overall, which is the most to the least powerful, I think that's it.
World Tree.
I think the Zealot and the Berserker are gonna feel very indistinguishable a lot of the time. So I feel like maybe
I will tell you the Zealot is an excellent choice.
maybe the
for
Berserker's the B. Because I do think the Wild Heart is better than the Berserker.
Same.
But the Zealot, again, the Zealot and the Berserker are the only two that are actually getting the flat out self damage boost.
You know what I was thinking about when we were talking about the Berserker? And again, every class is different. So I know that there's some people out here who are going to take this and run with it. Don't. But is the Berserker the champion of barbarians? And we talked about, but a lot of people in our comments were like, how dare you give the champion a B? It doesn't do anything wrong.
And B isn't where a subclass, like a B ranking is not.
No,
the subclass is bad.
People did make good points that the champion, even for the fighter, it really is like it's adding in every category you want it to add to, and it's actually excellent. And here we see the same thing with the Berserker. It's adding everywhere that you wish a barbarian had things added.
Yes. And just like a B grade, a B is you completed the assignment, you did everything that was asked of you, everything was done well, but nothing about this was like, wow. And that's the way I feel about the Zealot. It's like, everything is good, but nothing in here has wowed me, right? And I feel a little bit like that towards the Berserker, and I definitely feel that way about the champion. But Yeah.
Fine. Well, let's leave it how it is, but I want all of you out there to know that the barbarians are all really great.
They are. They all of them are playable. None of them are bad, which is a huge improvement over the 2014.
Yeah, over previous versions that we've seen. This is beautiful.
Yeah.
I actually will straight up say that I've never been more excited by Barbarian. Barbarian was always this one that I had a hard time grasping what my cool concept was. Now all of a sudden I have this like urge to play a Barbarian that I've never had before, which is really nice to feel.
I mean, one of my favorite characters was a 4th edition dual wielding Barbarian.
I kind of want to play,
that I totally loved, and it's totally viable. So that's our tier ranking for the Barbarian. Again, I'd comfortably put everything in the like.
You could tell me all of these are an A, and I'd agree with you.
Yeah. We gotta get some of the spicy ones. We're partway through our tier ranking and haven't had any.
Well, darn it for them making balanced subclasses. I mean, this is kind of a testament to the fact that the 2024 rules are actually pretty well balanced for their subclasses.
Internally for the subclasses.
Yeah. So that's excellent. I personally want to play a Berserker. No, I personally want to play a Wild Tree.
World Tree, Wild
Heart, or Berserker.
Yeah.
Zealot is the least interesting to me right now, but I want to play a World Tree Barbarian. That would work for my character. Should I just change my entire concept for my next character to a World Tree Barbarian?
They're so good.
It kind of delivers everything about anyway, we'll talk.
Yeah.
Well, maybe you'll see me play a Barbarian, maybe you won't. I don't know. We'll find out soon. Tell us about your Barbarian ideas and how excited you are about these new Barbarian 2024 concepts in the comments below.
The videos that we make on our channel are made possible thanks to the incredible generosity of our Patreon supporters. You can join our Patreon in the links below.
Maybe not Barbarians, but if you want to see a bunch of cool heroes fighting in combat, you can check out our actual play in the Worlds of Drakenheim, which is Tuesday evenings right here on YouTube. You can check us out from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. Eastern Time, and you can find all the previous episodes by following the links right up over here.
We got plenty more tier ranking for the 2024 Player's Handbook. Those videos are right up over here.
Please subscribe to this channel, like this video, and ring that bell so that you never miss an episode.
Thanks so much for watching. See you next time
in the dungeon.